In this video, I will tell you the haunting story of the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium is considered one of the most haunted abandoned hospitals in the world. It is a boomerang-shaped building located in the U.S. city of Louisville. Earlier, many people died at Waverly Hills Sanatorium due to tuberculosis. Some claim that as many as 6,000 to 8,000 people died in this hospital. This abandoned hospital has become a popular ghost hunting spot for local people and professional paranormal investigators from across the country. What is the reason behind the haunting at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium? In order to know this, let us hear the story. During the early 1900s, America was ravaged by a deadly disease known by many as the White Death, which is tuberculosis. This terrifying and very contagious plague claimed entire families and sometimes entire towns. Louisville, which is a city in the U.S. state of Kentucky, had the highest tuberculosis death rate in the United States. In 1908, the Board of Tuberculosis Hospital devised a plan to build a tuberculosis hospital for patients with early-stage TB. Waverly Hill was chosen due to its higher elevation and remote location. Eventually, a new hospital began construction in 1908 atop Waverly Hill to accommodate patients with early-stage tuberculosis. The new structure came to be known as Waverly Hills Sanatorium. It was opened 2 years later on July 26, 1910. It is considered one of the most advanced tuberculosis facilities in the United States. This hospital is mostly used for patients living in the Louisville area. However, the number of patients at Waverly Hills Sanatorium quickly outgrew the space. In 1915, a children's pavilion was added to Waverly Hills Sanatorium. This children's pavilion was both for children with tuberculosis and for children whose parents were being treated at the sanatorium. As the patient population at Waverly Hills Sanatorium grew, it became a self-sustaining property with its own zip code, post office, and water treatment facility. As a result, Waverly Hills Sanatorium had limited contact with the outside world. Doctors and nurses could not leave the hospital and lived full-time there. Sadly, the main use for the hospital was to isolate those who suffer from the tuberculosis disease and to keep them away from those who had not. Since tuberculosis was a relatively new disease with no medicine or cure, new treatment methods were constantly being explored. Sunlight and fresh air were believed to cure tuberculosis. So, patients were often placed in front of windows outside their room or on the roof of the building. Unfortunately, there were cruel methods for treating the disease. During treatment of tuberculosis, a patient's lungs were exposed to ultraviolet light to try and stop the spread of bacteria. The most extreme treatment involved removing some ribs to allow the lungs to expand further and let in more oxygen. For patients whose tuberculosis diseases had spread to their brains, doctors used electroshock therapy to treat the disease. The death rate at Waverly Hills Sanatorium became so high that a secret tunnel was constructed to move dead bodies out of the hospital. By the late 1930s, tuberculosis had begun to decline around the world, and by 1943, an antibiotic called streptomycin was developed in the United States to effectively treat tuberculosis. After it became widely available, it was administered at Waverly Hills Sanatorium in 1949. As a result, the patient population steadily decreased throughout the 1950s and 1961, and the remaining patients at Waverly Hills Sanatorium were moved to the nearby Hazelwood Sanatorium. Before Waverly Hills Sanatorium shut its doors, it housed approximately 50,000 patients over 51 years. In 2001, Charles and Tina Mattingly purchased the property and began its restoration. But workers soon encounter paranormal activities inside the building, such as unexplained slamming of doors and windows. Later, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is open to the public throughout the year, and ghost tours are available. Since then, many visitors have started seeing strange faces that often appear in the windows of empty rooms. Some witnesses have encountered the ghost of a boy named Timmy who roams the hallways and likes to play ball. Others had run-ins with a ghostly apparition of a doctor in a white lab coat entering the fourth-floor operating room. Some visitors said they felt the smell of baking bread inside the abandoned ruined kitchen. They also felt spirits holding their hands while walking down the hallway. Many people claim to have heard creepy voices such as screaming, sounds of doctors performing surgery, relentless coughing, and strange children's laughter. On the fifth floor, visitors have encountered the apparition of a woman with her wrists cut. And on the third floor, the ghost of a little girl was seen running up and down. The most disturbing ghost that haunts this hospital is an entity known as the Creeper. The Creeper is a large shadow figure that has been spotted climbing the walls and ceiling of the fourth floor. After the hospital was abandoned, 2 men reportedly died on the property. One was said to be murdered by drug dealers, and the other fell down the elevator with his dog. Since then, the owner of the hospital, Tina Mattingly, reported seeing the ghostly figure of a man and his dog while having a tour inside the hospital. Another best-known ghost residing at Waverly Hills Sanatorium is that of a boy named Timmy. Timmy lived in the children's pavilion while his parents were being treated for stage 3 tuberculosis in this hospital. He would often play ball with other children on the roof of the sanatorium. One day, Timmy fell off of the roof and died. A police investigation determined that it was an accident, but there were rumors that he'd been pushed by a man standing near him at the time of the fall. Over the years, people have brought balls for Timmy to play with. However, these balls appear to move on their own or roll back to the person who threw them, as if Timmy continues to play with someone else. Another most haunted place at Waverly Hills is the underground tunnel called the Body Chute. It is also known as the Death Tunnel. Initially, the Body Chute tunnel was used to transport supplies during the construction of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. But later this tunnel is used to take out dead patients' bodies from tuberculosis. This was done so that patients would not see how many were leaving from the hospital as corpses. This enclosed tunnel stretches from the main building to the bottom of the hill. Upon reaching the bottom of the hill, dead bodies would be taken for burial or cremation. Today, the Body Chute tunnel is considered one of the most haunted areas in this hospital. And finally, another of the most haunted rooms at Waverly Hills is room number 502, which is located on the 5th floor of the building. This room is believed to be haunted by a female ghost named Mary. According to the stories, a nurse named Mary was found dead in room number 502 in 1928. She killed herself by hanging from the ceiling light. She was unmarried and 29 years old at the time of her death. It's believed that she took her own life because of a pregnancy from one of the male doctors working at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Another version of the story goes that Mary was killed by the male doctor, who is also her boyfriend, after he knew she was pregnant. After she was dead, her restless spirit started haunting room number 502. Then, in 1932, another nurse jumped from the window of room 502 and was dead after hitting the ground. Although some suspected that she had taken her own life, but there have been rumors that the nurse was pushed outside by the ghost of Mary, who haunts room number 502.